What's good, everyone? And we're back at it with the All Facts podcast here. I'm your host, Hars Fakar, and I'm here with a wonderful gentleman, a future successful man in Harun Moammer. How are you today, man?
Thank you. How are you, Horace? I'm doing great today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Just a lot of work in progress. Sorry for keeping a delay. Just Harun and I have been very busy, and we're still trying to keep
Of course.
content. So
But you know what? I'm very excited today. You know why?
actual
Because today
intellectual
is
stimulus.
another episode of Intellectual Stimulus.
When's your factual analysis
It's always a
coming,
good
man?
time.
Like, and everyone is like jaw dropping. They're biting their nails. Like, you're making it like Donda. You said it would be on this day, and they're like, nah. You're making it like Donda.
I never guaranteed a day. It's gonna take time. It's a passion project. I'm putting like real effort.
Okay. We'll see when that happens. But welcome to another episode of Intellectual Stimulus. And if you don't know, it's a series where me and Harun just give takes about movies, but just anything about culture. So movies, sports, social issues, video games, etc. Anything really. And last week we had a good discussion on Kung Fu Panda and Shrek. And I also talked about Minnesota making the playoffs. Harun talked about which Smash was the best one.
Brawl.
Smash Brawl was the best. And today we have much better ones that you've all been waiting for. So without further ado, let's get into it. And the first take I have is the Saints are the most amazing. Okay, wait, hold up. The Saints, I think, can make the playoffs. And the fact is, Jameis Winston is a gunslinger. It's not that he knows what to do when everything goes corrupt, but he can throw the ball down the field, and they're much better. And they're much better at that than when Drew Brees was there. When Drew Brees was there, their arm strength wasn't great. His arm strength wasn't great, so a lot of them had to run short routes, which is why Michael Thomas is quoted as slant boy. But Michael Thomas, if he comes back in like week 3, and the Saints, they don't really have that tough of a schedule, and they're in a division where there's only one powerhouse, so I do think they can make the playoffs. And especially since Jameis Winston can throw the ball down the field, and they have a great offensive line, they have great skilled position players. Their defense is suspect, but I think they can hold up. And I just really think the Saints can actually make the playoffs. And it's not that bad of a take anymore because they did defeat Green Bay 38-3. And Harun, what do you think about that? 38-3, man.
38-3. Can you give me perspective on that? Like, give me like averages.
Averages? No. They beat a team 38-3. Like, they scored 38 points, and the other team only got 3.
That is crazy, actually. Like, now that I think about it.
Exactly, and that's Green Bay. Like, we all know what Green Bay is like. But I do think... Well, what'd you say?
It's like, you know when you like watch hockey, it's always either they won by 1 point or it's a tie. I swear.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Like, it's a low scoring game. But this one...
Listen, as someone right, who like doesn't like know anything about sports, right? If someone ever talks about hockey, I just say, "Oh, did they win by 1 point?" The guy goes, "No, it's a tie." Every time.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen hockey in a long time, but yeah, normally it's like 1-0, 2-1. Like, those are the scores, right? Like, that's probably the scores you probably hear.
Yeah.
So,
but it's very easy to have a conversation with a hockey kid.
Yeah, that is actually really true. Because football, there's so many analytics to it, and then you're like, wait, what am I doing? Like, you're just lost into the thoughts that they're speaking about.
Yeah.
But okay, so since I think the Saints can make the playoffs, I think they actually will. Because before I had the Falcons, and I think this is aging horribly, but now I actually think the Saints can do it just because Sean Payton is a really great coach, and they have just a really great overall team. Jameis Winston is not like a top 10 quarterback. Don't get me wrong; he's probably like mid tier, but I don't. But the fact that he can throw the ball down the field, he got LASIK eye surgery, so he actually knows what he's doing now. And yeah, I think the Saints can make the playoffs, and that's my NFL take for the day. And Haroon, go on with your take, whichever one it was actually.
Alright, I'm gonna start with the video game take here since Har's talked about something he doesn't know about, so I'm gonna talk about something he doesn't know about. Alright, my video game take is that I think Dark Souls 3 is the best Souls game in the whole series. I might be a little biased because that's the one I started with, but really think about it. It was the most like technologically sound game in the series. Every other game you die from some nonsense reason, you know? Like the gaping dragon in Dark Souls 1. Its entire leg was a hitbox, which is just stupid. In Dark Souls 3, everything is like structurally sound, and yet you're still losing because everyone is so aggressive. Like whenever I go back to play like Dark Souls 1 or Bloodborne, right? I'll always I find it really easy because I'm already used to like the very slow patterns of the enemies. But Dark Souls 3, because of how aggressive it is, it still to me feels like the hardest game in the series. And a lot of people complain about the fan service that they provide, but I actually kind of like it. I feel like it built a connection between like all of the games, since before they just all felt like separate titles with the same name. Right? I like how the painted world in Dark Souls 3 is basically just Bloodborne's Yharnam, and how we're introduced to new characters from both Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2. So it basically connects the whole thing while also adding new stuff like Lothar Castle in Dark Souls 3. So yeah, that's why I think it's the best game in the series.
Okay. And in short terms, I'd say Dark Souls is the best because of the Firekeeper. Now, moving on.
Damn, bro, you wilding. Wait, which one's the best? The first, second, or third one?
I don't know. This is knowledge you've told me. Which one is the best? I'm asking you which one is the best.
I already know, bro. Firekeeper 3. That's another reason, by the way. Firekeeper 3 is actually like wifey material, bro. I swear.
Yeah?
I swear, dude.
Okay, so I actually have a video game take.
Alright, let's hear it.
Okay, and Harun, I know you haven't played 2K, but that's a video game, so that's a video game take. And I think 2K11 is the best 2K of all time.
Alright, why do you think so?
Because at that time, right? At that time,
yeah.
NBA Live was basically dead. And NBA Live is made by EA Sports, if you don't know. And NBA Live was basically dead, and when 2K11 finally made its mark as the best basketball video game, that's when 2K just took a big step over NBA Live. And the reason why is just its gameplay, its soundtrack, honestly. And yes, I'm basing opinion off the soundtrack. It's just so great, so great. There's some.
Of course, dude. You gotta base your opinion on a soundtrack. Exactly. If a game has bad soundtrack,
the soundtrack was amazing. Also, this was the first game that ever introduced a Legends edition. So you had to relive the Legends biggest moments. That's the best part of it. Just the fact that a lot of humans, right? They'll like the nostalgia part of everything. Like they'll always look at a part, and if it reminds them of something in the past, of a great memory, it's gonna hold something special in their heart. Like, you can agree with me on that.
Of course.
And the fact
nostalgia bias.
Yeah, and the fact that I'm not saying nostalgia bias. I'm just saying the fact that 2K11 was the first game that ever introduced the Legends Edition, so you can relive like Michael Jordan's moments. That was just probably the best part of the game, especially its gameplay. This was the first ever 2K that ever made you go an ISO, a one-on-one, and play defense, and be rewarded with ball movement and mid-range jump shot, and your mid-range jumper. That was nothing like that before. As like the popular opinion, that I hear is that the best 2K is either 2K14, actually not 2K14, 2K16 or 2K17. But in my opinion, those don't hold anything to 2K11. A lot of people just say, oh, because it has better graphics and 2K11 has better gameplay. But at the same time, it makes sense why those have it, because that's like 6 and 7 years into the future. You don't think the graphics and gameplay would have changed by then? So like what I'm holding,
my rule of thumb is that if all of your arguments can be fixed with the remaster, then it's not a good argument.
The thing is, well, the way how I'm holding it on is how it would be, how the game was at its specific time.
Yeah, like I said, if all your problems with the game can be fixed by it being remastered, then it's not a good argument. You know what a remastered is, right?
Like an updated version.
Like sometimes they'll release the same title, but like for a new console, it's called a remaster,
Okay.
right? Where like they basically recreate the whole game with like newer graphics and maybe updated dialogue just to make it more fresh, but it's still the same game,
The thing
right?
is,
If that fixes all your problems with it, then it's not a good argument.
no, no, no. The thing is, those games don't touch 2K11. It's completely different than 2K11.
Yeah.
2K16,
What?
2K16 was great as it did release its first part. It did release the NBA part, and it did release the what's it called? It had a great My Career dialogue, but 2K11, the fact that you can play with legends, this was the first time that 2K took the biggest jump and set itself as better than live, like the consensus best best basketball video game, and you can relive with legends. Yeah, you can finally play with such creative control. You can finally play creatively as you can play defense and offense, and you can get rewarded as anything else, especially in My Career, and especially just the little things. The little things, like there were so many things into it. There's so many little stuff to do. Like you could do quick game, playoffs, My Career, blacktop. What else was there? There was the Michael Jordan challenges. There were just the little things just made it so great. And you could also create your own player. It was just amazing. And also the soundtrack. The 2K13 probably had the only better soundtrack, but with the fact that 2K11, it just had the vibe with the game. It just had the vibe with the game. As songs like Little by Little, Over, there's so many songs I forget, but they're also fire at the same time.
I got a question, Harris.
Yeah.
For what made 2K11 so much better than 2K12? You know, what did they remove in 12 that wasn't in 11? Or what did 11 have that 2K12 didn't have? Or what did 2K12 mess up with the 11 formula to make 11 better? Because like people make the same argument with Mario Kart Wii, saying Wii is better than 7 and 8. Because we had much more like mechanical things like drafting. The idea that if you stick behind someone, you get a little speed boost, or wheeling with the bike, how you get extra speed boost but you can't move. Right, those are things in Wii that they removed in 7 and 8. What did they remove in 2K11?
It was just the gameplay
to
in
make
general. Like they made it a lot more complex. They made it a lot more complex. The soundtrack was worse. They didn't add like a Legends edition. Like they just added like old teams, but like they didn't add
But
something where you could. They didn't add something where you can just relive the past players' biggest moments. And yeah, it's just that's really it. And
most of those points are valid, but I'd argue that complexity makes a game better.
no, no,
You
no,
know,
no. It
my
wasn't.
favorite
It wasn't
games.
that it was very complex. Like 2K11 was complex in its own way, but it was just complex that you really couldn't do the stuff that you could do on 2K11.
No, I would beg to differ because complexity always gives you more freedom of like
But that's
expressiveness.
that's what
Like
2K11. With 2K12, they just made it a lot more simple. And like the reason when I said complex, it was just more like things were just all over the place rather than just sticking to one
it
thing.
was disorganized.
Basically disorganized. Yeah.
So the complexity didn't give you freedom of expression. It just made things harder to do normal stuff.
Basically.
Because like my favorite games are like Tekken and like the Devil May Cry series, and in those games, it's all about like the complex movement. It gives you expression of like combat,
Yeah.
right? So like I always saw like complexity as like a bonus. Because if a game's complex, I mean there's more to it, you know?
Yeah, but every single reason I said why 2K11 was good, 2K11 just made it the complete opposite of that. I mean 2K12. I said 2K11.
I see.
Yeah, but also another thing with 2K11, it was like the first ever 2K game I played, so like I do feel that connection because I really loved it so much as a kid, and I still like it to this day. And the fact that NBA 2K is still updating on it, it's still using it as a certain standard. It just shows so much. It just shows like how big of a jump it really took
Uh,
in the time, especially at the time.
that 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 nostalgia bias I
It's
see,
not the
yeah.
nostalgia bias.
Don't worry, don't
It's
worry, don't
not
worry,
the,
don't worry.
no, no,
Listen,
no. It's
bias is
not the
okay.
nostalgia bias. I'm saying the fact that 2K, the 2K community even still uses that as like as its bar, it just shows. It just shows. It just shows that was the biggest point in their career in the 2K community, and the fact that it just it finally took over the step at over live, and there's like okay, 2K is amazing. That's just how it is. And a lot of people that just don't like 2K11, it's not that they don't like it, it's just that they haven't played it as much as the other ones, so they don't understand.
I see. That's a lot of valid points there. And listen, there's nothing wrong with bias.
No,
And,
no,
like, the
no.
rules of
Yeah, but
journalism.
I know there's nothing wrong with. I'm just saying I'm not basing this off bias. Only that one point where I said, yeah, I have a certain connection to it, but I'm not basing it
Yeah,
off bias. I'm basing it off like what's
that's fine.
actually true.
That's fine though. In journalism, there's like a rule. It says you're allowed to have bias as long as you're very clear on what your bias is. Right? Because your journalistic voice is your own voice. You know, people need to have perspective. They need to know what you like and don't like.
And then 2K13, I would argue, yeah, I would argue maybe 2K13, the gameplay is a lot better because it is more complex, but then it's just completely different than what 2K11 brought. And then
Alright, but
2K13 got way worse than 2K12 and 2K11, and then when 2K14 came along, that's when it brought back. That's when they brought a very because that revolutionized the 2K games. So, but then now it's all falling off. Like after 2K16, it's all fallen off. 2K17 was terrible. 2K17 is good, but a lot of people have it, so it's overrated, I'd say. And 2K18 was complete trash. 2K18 was complete
wait.
trash.
It's overrated because a lot of people have it.
No, because a lot of people say it's the best one, yet it's not even close.
See.
And what's it called? 2K18 was complete terrible. 2K19 is okay, but then 2K20 and 2K21 and 2K22 is just adding on. It's just the same as 2K19, but just different players.
I see. It's like Smash Ultimate, you know, it's just basically Smash 4, but with extra stuff.
Yeah, basically. And yeah, that's my video game take. I just think 2K is the best.
Real quick though.
It's the best 2K of all time.
Real quick though. You said 13 was different and more complex. Is complex good in this case or bad?
It was actually, I would argue the gameplay was just completely just not basketball-esque. It was more like you were not playing basketball, if that makes sense.
It's like dancing, right?
Yeah. No, not with dancing, but yeah, it's just like stuff you would just see in that is just not like what you would see in regular basketball. Like they made it impossible to block dunks. I mean, yeah, to block dunks. They made it impossible to just dribble around and just have fun. They made it impossible to just like have a shot, and like like you know how have you seen like 2K glitches and stuff like that, like those memes?
Yeah. There's a lot of people that use those to their advantages too, like from what I hear.
No, but you know those memes, right? Where it's like, oh, I took a corner three from 2K and then like I go out of bounds or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2K13 had like the most glitches especially when I played it, and even everyone agrees with me on that. It was just kind of BS gameplay at the same time.
Going back to your first point about like how you can't block dunks or you can't dribble normally, I feel like that's just a problem with like EA Sports.
That's not EA Sports though. It's like 2K.
Alright, 2K, but just in general,
EA Sports,
right? Like
yeah,
that's
why Live fell off, because no one liked the way it was. The 2K13 was similar to Live.
But my point is, right, with like sports games like that, they try to focus too much on realism. I feel like. I feel like if you had like if you had a basketball game where you were doing just the craziest things, and it was like still complex, like you were doing like basketball combos, that would be way too lit.
Yeah, but that's basically what the new 2K games are. They're trying to make it so real, and then it's not at the same time.
Yeah, I don't think it should be like, you should make like a Space Jam game. That would sell.
Well, they did add the Michael Jordan 2011, so they won't add a Space Jam game.
Okay, but like Space Jam, yo, come on. Like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Bugs Bunny.
You're allowed to make a game like that on 2K.
They exist?
No, you're allowed to make a
as
team like that.
characters.
Like you can make players like Bugs
Yeah,
Bunnies.
I know you're talking about custom players, yeah, but I'm talking like the gameplay just centered around like wacky Looney Tunes
That's
movement, and
actually
it's
that
like
would
complex
actually.
combos.
I don't know how much that would sell though.
That would sell a lot,
Yeah,
dude. Listen, I'm a genius, yo.
that would sell
That's
a lot.
genius. That's money.
So, okay, yeah, that's my video game take. Do you have anything, Haru? Do you have anything to say?
All right, time for my movie take. All right, you ready for this? Now, hold your horses. I think Spider-Man 3 is the best of the Raimi trilogy.
Wait, which one? The Tobey Maguire?
Spider-Man 3. Yeah, the Raimi trilogy. Yeah, with Maguire.
because of that
Spider-Man
scene?
3 is the best one. Not like it's unironically the best one.
Ah, okay, how is that?
Okay, listen. This isn't from any bias, right? Even though Spider-Man 3 was the first one I saw, I remember hating it as a kid. I thought it was so cringy.
I always
Right,
liked Spider-Man
that
3.
scene-
Spider-Man 3, like that. I thought that trilogy of Spider-Man movies was like the best I've ever seen in Spider-Man wise.
But like I saw the third movie first before the first
Yeah,
two, so I
yeah.
just thought they were all
Same,
bad.
same. So did
Like
I.
that scene where like he was crying when MJ said I'm breaking up with you, I would cringe so hard as a kid. But like I rewatched the movie like 2 days ago, right? And I thought to my head, what was I thinking as a kid? This is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire
You know
life.
what's actually funny? I remember back in like grade 8, I said that movie was a good movie, and you said no, it wasn't. And I was laughing because I was like, what the hell is this guy thinking?
You cut off there, my bad.
Whoa, what did you not hear?
You said what's funny was that when I was a kid, and then the whole thing.
Okay, yeah, so in grade 8, I remember saying that movie was a good movie, and you started laughing at me. And then I was laughing at you. I was saying like, "That's a pretty good movie." I don't know what you have against it.
Yeah, I told you I watched it once as a kid. I thought it was really cringy, then just never watched it again.
Yeah, but now you've seen it, so like, what? How do you think it's the best?
I-
I still think the second one is the best.
Okay.
though.
Listen, like I'm unironically, right? Like you think this is all about like the meme, right? But like I'm serious. This is actually like a really good movie.
Yeah, I know it's a really good movie, but
Hear me out. All right. No, really, you think it's good? Because like everyone thinks this is like the worst. Like this is like when it fell off.
I thought the first one was the worst one. But in that trilogy, in the
Really?
trilogy.
No, even then, dude. Like one was still really good. I say they're all like even.
I would say the second one is the best one.
Second one's good, but like I feel like there's too much downtime with Peter just being Peter.
But that's who it is. That's who he is, though. So
Obviously, you know, train scene is the best scene in the whole like trilogy.
yeah. Okay, alright. Continue your reasoning.
But-
Why is 3 the best?
Okay. For unironic reasons, why 3 is the best, alright? I like the idea that like Peter was like a jerk before like the suit like corrupted him. The suit basically just added on to like his like selfishness. Right? It's a really interesting idea that the ego of him being Spider-Man is like getting to him. Right? And it caused him to just be like an absolute like meathead. Is that the word you use or
Yeah. Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying,
I
right?
understand. Because he got cocky
Like
at that point.
absolute like actually like horrible boyfriend, dude. He kissed a girl in front of Mary Jane.
In
is
front.
like a-
Oh
ooh.
yeah, that scene. Yeah.
Right? And like even before, like the symbiote was on him, but didn't really corrupt him until later on, right? And even then, he's like broke Eddie Brock's camera. But actually, no, I think he was corrupted then because he killed Sandman. But was that out of corruption?
He
or was
didn't
that out
kill
of
Sandman.
rage?
He didn't
'Cause
kill Sandman.
He thought he did though. Like he genuinely attempted to murder Sandman
Oh yeah.
with the water. He was like, "Good riddance."
Yeah.
Was that the symbiote, or do you think that's like just Uncle Ben anger? I don't think he was corrupted then.
I think that was Uncle Ben anger because he thought something happened differently. Because when he learned those 2 guys killed his uncle, right? Then he just thought of some hypothetical thing that happened, right? And
Yeah.
then I think because like after remember in the first movie, right? After Uncle Ben died, he chased after the guy, and then he said,
Yeah,
he killed him, and he said, "Oh, what about my uncle? Did you give him a chance?" So like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna call him corrupt at that scene, then you're gonna have to call him corrupt at that scene. But I don't think he was. So.
No, like he was corrupted by the symbiote. I don't think
Yeah.
so, because like he was still able to take it off. The rule with like the symbiotes, like once like you can't take it off, then it's corrupted you.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. Unless
But Eddie
unless you have a
Brock,
bell.
Eddie Brock as a villain was always a good villain. You know, I hate that he only had 10 minutes of Venom. I really wish like they stopped the movie right after like he turns into Venom. They stop it right there. Then Spider-Man 4 is just Venom as the main villain.
That was the thing with Spider-Man. Like they just have this tangents of like bringing in these villains in. Remember the time we were talking about?
No, it was literally just three. It was just three that brought like way too much stuff in. That's like my one problem with the movie.
Exactly. No, but
But
but then the same thing happened in that same movie though, because Sandman was one, and then
Sandman,
Venom was just something they just
Harry.
thought of just because of the money.
No. That's actually it's not Raimi's fault. It's Sony Studios. They wanted Venom to sell toys,
Yeah.
and Raimi didn't want to do it because he didn't understand Venom. He was like, "Listen, let me like read up on some comics, right? And let me learn Venom as a character. Because right now I don't know what to do with him."
Yeah, but then they were forced to make 3 movies.
But
so that's
Sony
why.
was like, "Nah, Venom is way too popular right now. You gotta sell the big bucks. We gotta make that money." You know who I blame?
Who?
The Ultimate Spider-Man video game.
Yeah.
Ultimate Spider-Man and Spider-Man Webs of Shadows made Venom way too popular.
Yeah, that is true.
Did Webs of Shadows... Wait. Did Webs of Shadows come before or after Spider-Man 3? I think it was after.
I think it was around the same time, no?
It was... When did Spider-Man 3 come out? Because Webs of Shadows came out 2008.
Yeah, 2007
and Ultimate
was
came out
Spider-Man
2006. Okay, so it was
It was
after.
after, yeah.
But Ultimate Spider-Man came out 2006, and that game was way too fire.
Have you seen the show Ultimate
So,
Spider-Man?
I have a little
I
bit,
saw
but
some
like all of it.
episodes.
Anyways,
Okay, I'll continue.
you're putting me off topic. Okay. I like the idea that like Peter was like a jerk from before, and like the ego was getting to him. It sets up a good plot for the movie. That like first 10-minute opening was absolutely incredible. That Sandman scene when he first like woke up from turning into sand was genuinely beautiful. That's like a small film in it of itself. Absolute perfection.
Yeah, I like
the idea that. I like the idea that this movie is the fall of Spider-Man. You know, right? That was a brave, like, bold move, right? Nowadays, directors would never hit that like level of boldness, right? We've lost that era of like cinema directors being encouraged to just push and push.
Yeah?
Both Raimi and Maguire were just involved in how far they wanted to put Peter Parker, and like Maguire wanted to go all the way with it. Right? That scene where he hits Mary Jane was like the lowest point of his existence.
That is true.
That is Peter Parker.
But then he decides to come back. He's like, "Oh wait, I'm not with the Venom anymore. Let me save her once again."
That symbiote design at the end when Eddie Brock is separated was so good.
Oh yeah, when he had like those poles and then he was hitting it alongside and then it got off of him.
Yeah, that was
Eddie Brock
insane.
died, right? Because he got killed by those droids thing and then he threw the fire at it.
He wanted to merge with the symbiote, but Peter already threw the grenade.
Grenade, yeah, that thing. But yo, the Harry Osborn death was sad.
That Harry versus Peter fight though, at the beginning, the first 10 minutes was so heat.
Oh yeah.
I like how they weren't gonna kill off Peter, obviously, so they used the ring as like the sense of urgency, which was just genius.
Yeah, that's true. That's really true.
And listen. I promised that I wasn't gonna use any memes, right? But Bully Maguire. Bully Maguire is the greatest character known in cinema. That little montage of him after Eddie gets fired.
Loki. If we
the
watch
most
Spider-Man
character.
3, yo, we gotta record something like that.
He's literally the most quotable character in all of cinema. I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye. I'll take the staff job, double the money.
Yeah.
I don't even need to see anything. I just clapped right there. You already know what the clap is.
Yeah, I know.
The
Even
dance.
the music when he was
Yeah.
doing it.
You got some with nuts.
Everybody needs somebody.
Heat, I swear, heat. You want forgiveness? Get religion. And then Eddie
Oh,
goes to church.
yo,
He goes to church.
that was insane. He's like, you want forgiveness? Get religion. He's like, boom, boom.
And then Eddie actually goes to church. He prays to Jesus to kill
Yeah,
Peter.
that was actually funny to be honest. He's like, God, I know we haven't spoken in a while, but just please do one thing for me. Kill Peter Parker.
Edward Brock Jr. Come before you, humbled and humiliated, and I just have one thing to ask of
Kill
you.
Peter Parker.
I want you to kill Peter Parker. And Jesus delivers, bro. He sends him the Venom suit.
Yeah, he does.
Bro, in the Raimi trilogy, bro, Jesus is like an active figure.
Also, yo, one thing, yeah, when Spider-Man hits him, or when the Sandman hits Venom, and he's like, get away, Spider-Man. He's like, I'm not Spider-Man.
He was like, end of the line. He was like, end of the line, Spider-Man, and he hit him with that.
Yeah, I remember that.
The design of like just not the symbiote but Venom, right, was great. I like how like his face would remove and you would see Eddie, right? It gave him more screen time, but also like just the design was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. People complained that Venom isn't giant, but like I kind of liked that. You know, Raimi was always like one for realism.
Yeah. I understand that.
Right? So he always tried to make things more realistic. His vision of the characters were always supposed to be a more realistic take. So the fact that Peter and Eddie were already similar in height anyways, and like the symbiote reflects that, and it's not just a massive like stronger version of Spider-Man, it's something I really like. Same with Norman Osborn in Spider-Man 1. Instead of him actually turning into a goblin or like a plastic costume, whatever it was. It changes each time, right? Sometimes he's an actual goblin. Sometimes he's wearing like a really realistic costume.
Yeah.
But I like how he's just wearing like a war machine, with like the goblin being like the mask of fear that he uses. Right? That's a great design.
Oh, you remember the fight when? He went to Harry Osborn's mansion?
Yeah, he chucks the grenade at him.
And then half of his face
Look
got...
at little Goblin Boy Jr.
Yeah, half of his face got like what's it called? Like burned.
Yeah.
And then
You know
okay,
what,
this is
Wait.
this is something I don't get. Like, you know, remember when Bernard? What? Yeah.
Bernard.
He tells.
I was just gonna say that.
No. He tells Harry. Okay, the night when your father died, I was cleaning like the wound, right? And it was from the knife of his own thing. That's when Harry
Right.
realized, oh, my father, Peter didn't kill my father. He really killed himself. But what I would fire Bernard if he told me that like at that time. Like, you're telling me after all this time, this is like the right time. This is the right time. Like, my best friend I've known for years. I've hated him for so long because he killed my father. And you're telling me
Just
right
chuck
now.
the grenade
You're
at
telling me right. Yeah, he threw a grenade out. You're telling me right now that my father killed himself. Like, why didn't you tell me this before?
I was actually gonna say that. Like, you cut me off there. I was gonna talk about the same thing, but Bernard really was
Like, yo,
keeping the secret
what?
for so
I
long.
know. Like, when was like the perfect time to tell him was like right after his death. Like, oh, this is from his own father. Like, where did that go? Like, why?
What I gotta understand though, this is something like I like how there's also like theorizing behind the movie, like the illusions of Norman Osborn, right? Is that actually him haunting Harry, or is that the Goblonium making him
The
crazy?
Goblonian making him crazy.
Because look, listen, he takes the Goblonium in like the first scene, like the earlier scene in Spider-Man 3, but Norman was haunting him since before Spider-Man 2, like since Spider-Man 2. Talk about avenge me.
No, but that was more of the Goblin rather than his father, because his father had like not mental issues. His father always had
The mental issues though came from the Goblonium.
Yeah, exactly. It came from the. That's my point. It came from the Goblonian. I think
Yeah,
the Goblonian just told
but like,
Harry, "Oh, avenge me because your best friend is the one that killed me."
how did he get the Goblonium though? Because like he didn't like inject himself with it yet, or like inhaled it. He only inhales it in like the third movie, so he can be strong enough to like fight Peter. But before that, he didn't use any at all. So how is he getting messages from Norman?
No, because remember when he in Spider-Man 2 when he what's it called, when he was fighting Spider-Man, then he took off his mask and saw it was Peter. That
Yeah.
probably did something to him.
You think?
Because when he saw his best friend, because he thought Spider-Man killed his dad, right? But when he saw that,
Yeah.
when he saw Peter, then he got probably so mad at that point, and then that's when the Goblinian probably took advantage of that. Because he
That's
never,
not how the
I know,
Goblinian
but
works,
he
though.
never did that. But I think something must have happened during that time.
Listen, Goblonium is just like a serum that like increases human performance, but like one of the side effects is mental insanity.
Which is what
If
Norman
like
had, yeah.
in 1 in 15 cases it led to insanity, right? But he never inhaled the Goblonium, so how would he have that mental insanity to talk to Norman?
No, but my
The
point
thing
is,
is,
maybe something did
the
happen, and then he ended up getting it.
here's the thing: the Green Goblin is a returning character, right? Like if you read the comics, like he comes back even after he's killed. So I genuinely believe it's just Norman haunting Harry in some way. Like they wanted to get the Green Goblin back. Like they're gonna do in No Way Home. Watch.
Okay, wait. So you're saying it was Norman just because of the fact that
The Green Goblin comes back multiple times.
yeah, because Harry wanted to kill Spider-Man, right?
Like before he wanted to, like I'm talking like in the comics, right? Like Norman will come back as the Green Goblin. Like even if he's killed. He doesn't die. Or another theory, I just thought of this right now, right? Is that maybe some of like that Goblonium was like in the house. Like it was in the atmosphere.
Yeah?
Like could be. Maybe like Norman took some and like some of it left like the chamber. So like some of it just in the house, just just chilling there. Just waiting to be inhaled.
No, but yeah, but I don't know. I don't really know, to be completely honest. I'm just saying maybe like when Peter Parker killed his dad, assumably
That's
he donned himself as the Green Goblin. Like he proclaimed himself as that.
but like that's not how it works. You don't the Green Goblin isn't like a mental entity. It's part of like the Goblonium's insanity. So you gotta like consume that before turning into the Goblin. But anyways, that's my point though, right? Like it led to some theorizing, which you can't really say for most movies.
You could say that for Spider-Man too.
Yeah, definitely. The
That
Raimi,
Spider-Man trilogy is probably the best Spider-Man trilogy there is.
I totally agree. But what were you talking about? You're talking about how you think Spider-Man 1 was the worst one?
Out of the trilogy, not saying it's a bad movie. It's just that it was the worst one out of that.
Okay, but you're saying it's the worst one, but we gotta throw hands right now, dude. This is the intellectual stimulus.
Okay, wait, hold
Alright,
up,
this is
hold
your hot
up.
take.
Okay, fine. You want
Let's hear it.
what take?
Why Spider-Man 1 is the worst one in the trilogy.
It was the worst of the trilogy, but I'm not saying it's a bad movie.
Okay, but why is it the worst in the trilogy?
Okay, first of all, the movie was just worse than the two, like humor-wise and action-wise. Basically, in every aspect, it was the worst one. Not saying it's bad. Not saying it's bad.
It was actually.
Not saying it's bad.
Listen, it's actually.
It was just the worst.
It's actually like the same humor-wise. I'll tell you why, right? I genuinely, even I was with you, right? I thought the humor wasn't intentional. Like random lines like "back to formula," right? I thought that was just what's it called, unintentionally being serious, right? But Willem Dafoe was talking in an interview on how like Raimi like planned this stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah, he was talking about how like the whole thing was meant to be goofy. He was trying to capture like that old comic book goofiness.
And yeah, then it failed at that. Then if you're saying that,
it didn't fail.
Yeah, it did.
No, it didn't. It was goofy and funny.
It was goofy and funny, but
remember,
I don't recall it being goofy
right?
and funny.
No, it's listen, like "back to formula" was just a great line, right? When he like wakes up, he chokes the doctor, goes "back to formula."
That
all right, and when he
also it was just
when he slaps. Listen,
wait, continue.
Listen, that little 5-second clip where the Goblin goes in front of Mary Jane, he goes, "Hello, my dear," and then she screams. Then that one random citizen goes, "It's Spider-Man," and then Spider-Man hits the Goblin. That like 5-second clip, like unedited, was just pure genius.
And then when he say, and then that's the same scene when he goes after, and then he goes, And then Mary Jane says, "Who are you?" And it says, "It's me, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man." That scene?
Who are you? You know who I am. Yeah, it was. That scene happens after that one. Yeah, he goes, "Hello, my dear," and she goes, "Ah!" And then it's Spider-Man, and then he kicks the goblin. Then the goblin, like, his glider, like, breaks a little bit. He goes, "We'll meet again, Spider-Man." Great movie, dude. What are you talking
It was a
about?
great movie. I agree with you on that. I'm saying it's worst out of the trilogy. And it's not by a big gap. I'm not saying it's by a big gap. I would say it's just not as great as the other two. That's all I'm saying. Like, I don't know what you're understanding here.
Listen, that scene where the goblin smacks Spider-Man in the back of the head and goes, "Listen, there are a few exceptional people that are gonna be carried by all the people. You and me." Like, he slaps him in the back of the head like a dad.
Yeah?
Alright. I got one more quote for you. And this quote solidifies why the Goblin is the best.
Green Goblin is probably the best villain. I will give you that. Not probably, he is. He is.
Let's listen. In the finale for Spider-Man, right? He goes, "Spider-Man, this is why only fools are heroes. Because you never know when some lunatic will present you with a sadistic choice. Let die the woman you love or suffer the children." Like, he's self-aware, dude. He knows he's crazy.
Also, okay, yeah, the point I was gonna bring up was that I can't blame it for that, but the movie was a bit slow in like the first hour. It only started becoming great when the Green Goblin became Green Goblin, because that's when something was happening.
Actually, I disagree with you on that one. I like the pacing on Spider-Man 1. I thought it was better than Spider-Man 2's pacing. Although Spider-Man 2 is the better movie overall.
No, I think the pacing was a bit slow, just in the beginning. Because I understand why it would be, but at the same time, like, it shouldn't really be at the same time.
No, it was great pacing. Like, we'd start off with Peter, then we'd move to Norman, and then they would fight, and then it repeats. Spider-Peter both, or Peter Norman both.
But it didn't start off like that. It started off when Peter thought it got bit by a spider, and then he was trying to learn how to control his powers, and then he went to that wrestling thing.
Yeah, but even before that, there was some Norman stuff happening.
Yeah, but then he went to that wrestling thing.
Yeah.
And then he just gets this random costume that, like, he just gets this random costume.
Yeah, but like some Norman stuff happened.
Yeah, of course some Norman stuff happened in between, which was great. But it really shows nothing. Until the Green Goblin thing happened, that's when things started to correlate, and that's when things started to be like, okay, something's happening. Nothing was really happening in the beginning. Like, people were just like, oh, okay. Like, if you were watching that movie for the first time with no knowledge in it, you'd probably just say like, okay, he got bit by the spider. Okay, he's in some wrestling thing. And then when the Green Goblin thing would happen, you'd be like, okay, now something's happening. Now he has a Spider-Man costume. Now he has that.
You gotta understand, for you, it's like this because you already know Spider-Man's plot.
Yeah, same thing for you as well.
You're a comic nerd.
It's the same with you.
I agree, right? But you gotta think about general audience here. Right? General audience, most of them, like, even back in the day, knew nothing about comics.
I just said if you were watching the movie as just a guy with no knowledge, that's how it would be.
No, like, I'm saying, like, all of that is, like, really intriguing if like, you're new to it. Like, the idea of, like Peter's father figure being killed, and then him using his powers to do good.
Okay, right? Yeah.
That little beginning, it's really, like, intriguing. There's a reason why Spider-Man needed an origin story, and The Amazing Spider-Man didn't need an origin story, because it's just a reboot of the Raimi trilogy.
Actually, no, didn't The Amazing Spider-Man have it? Like, because they explained why his parents died, rather than...
Yeah, I felt like
that was unnecessary. I know that was unnecessary.
Right? That origin story of how he got his spider powers also wasn't needed, because everyone that was watching it from the Raimi trilogy.
Also, in the Amazing Spider-Man, he was kind of a creep.
What?
No. Yeah, because he had pictures of Gwen Stacy, like, on his wallpaper.
Harsh. Don't you know? Attractive people can't be creeps.
What?
That's a joke.
No. I'm talking about who he is, because I saw this one post or something. It said, okay, it was comparing the two Spider-Mans, and it was saying Peter Parker in Amazing Spider-Man just takes photos of Gwen Stacy just sitting down. But then when Peter Parker and Tobey Maguire, he asked to take her picture for the school newspaper. It was saying like he's better in terms of moral. And I was like laughing.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. Toby is not clear with his intentions. He says, "Can I use it for the school picture?" And then he'll keep one picture for himself, you know?
Exactly, yeah, I know, but he asked for it. He didn't just randomly just stalk.
He asked for it for the school picture.
Also, yeah,
So
in
that
the
means you
Amazing
can't
Spider-Man,
use
there
it
were
for
so
any other
many
purpose.
agendas that were just stupid. Like the basketball scene.
Listen. What was I getting to? Yeah, attractive people can't be creepy hearts. You should know that.
Can't be creepy, huh?
If you're attractive and you're stalking someone, you're just really interested.
Okay, but I don't care
If you're
about
ugly
that.
and you're stalking
I don't
someone,
care. I'm talking
you're
about the
creepy.
character of themselves. I'm not saying.
I'm talking like in a greater societal issue, right? How like pretty privilege exists.
I know pretty privilege exists, but this is not real life. This is Spider-Man.
But besides that, I feel like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man would have been better if it was like college Peter, or recently graduated Peter.
Probably,
You know?
probably.
Like Peter with experience, instead of like
like an
them
old
completely
Peter, like an
rebooting.
older Peter, adult Peter. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Spider-Man video game, right? Like it would have been a better soft reboot. It would have been like a kind of a sequel to the Raimi trilogy, but not really. Soft reboot. That's what it's called.
Okay. Okay.
Right? It would have explained his confidence.
That is true.
Like,
That is
Peter
true.
got out of that
was
nerd
the point I was
phase.
gonna talk about.
He gets out of the nerd phase like after high school,
Yeah.
so it makes sense.
So okay.
But
Oh yeah, continue.
I like how Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the MCU doesn't have like an origin story, because like we already know his
Exactly.
origin story.
Yeah.
now.
That's
Like, comic
that's
books
why I
are very
like those
popular.
movies too.
They had no need to establish
That's
it.
why I like those movies too. Yeah. Like it just shows straight off the bat he's Spider-Man. Boom. He's working with Iron Man because it's a plot extending, right? Because that was after the Civil War, right? Yeah, that was after the Civil War, so that's why it's like, okay, you met this Spider-Man. Let's move over to his like how he is on Spider-Man's
You know
team.
what though?
I mean, Iron Man's team.
I gotta defend Tom Holland real quick, right? People keep calling him Iron Boy Jr. People are always angry that like he's like Iron Boy's kid, but I kind of like Iron Man though, so like you gotta give him some space, you know. And plus, if you think about it, it makes perfect
Really,
sense. why
I've
Peter
never really
likes
heard
Iron
any
Man.
negative stuff about Tom Holland. That's just me.
Everyone calls him Iron Boy Jr.
Yeah, but like, is that a bad thing?
Yeah, they're calling him like Iron Man's sidekick. People say it's. Here's the thing: people say it's bad because the idea of Spider-Man is that he's a kid who's not a sidekick.
Yeah, and he's
Because the whole trend.
and he's not given the responsibility that Iron Man really gives on him, right? Normally.
Yeah, that's like the premise, right? But I feel like it makes perfect sense why Peter admires Iron Man to this level, because like, if you think about it, Iron Man is everything Peter wants to be.
Also,
Yeah.
Happy said the best.
Look, he's
Okay, continue.
like Tony Stark is everything Peter wants to be, right? He's confident and charismatic. He uses his genius for good purposes, or almost good purposes, right? If you like ignore that whole warfare like era,
Yeah.
right? And he's open about his identity, something Peter can never do.
Yeah, that's true.
He's like everything Peter wants to be. Like even like in not like Tom Holland Peter, like just all Peter Parkers.
Yeah.
All of like his problems are fixed by like being Iron Man. So it makes perfect sense why Peter would admire him to such a level.
Yeah. I like the part where you said like Iron Man just likes to express who he is, and he doesn't really second guess on or he does second guess on a lot of things, but he doesn't second guess on just like, oh, this is me, I'm Iron Man. Okay, you have to deal with that. That's it, and like he's gonna deal with it regardless. That's why Peter looks at him as like a mentor. But also,
Yeah, just like Tony,
also,
and Tony likes Peter too.
yeah, I know. I was about to say.
Peter reminds him of a young version of
I
himself.
know. I was about to say that Happy said it best when Happy in Spider-Man: Far From Home. When Happy said, my friend Tony second guessed on a lot of things, but the one thing he didn't second guess was picking you.
Yeah,
Like
true.
that, because that's why like that relationship is just settled.
That's really well. Like that's a peak quote right there.
Exactly.
And it really shows how Andrew Garfield didn't really understand the character of Spider-Man. Because he said, like, Spider-Man would hate Tony Stark the most out of all the Avengers.
Exactly, yeah.
Which I don't think is true. He would probably hate Hank Pym the most.
Maybe Captain America.
No, he'd like Cap.
Well, like, if they had a civil war, yet he'd hate Captain America's side. Like, Civil War.
I don't think so. And I'm talking in fully unbiased purposes. You're saying he hates Cap just because he likes Tony.
I'm talking about like the Civil War war. Yeah, he would like Captain America, yeah, but
because the idea that, like, listen, like, bad things are happening and you can't do anything about it, it goes against his whole, like, moral, like, code.
yeah, that is true. But yo, speaking, okay, we've been at it for like how long?
This stopped being about hot takes and more about Spider-Man.
Yeah. Let me say another hot take, okay?
All right.
You can probably agree with me.
All right.
Cars is the most overrated franchise in Pixar. Like, it's not good. It's decent at best, but it's closer to mediocre. I'm not kidding. Like, it's closer to the bottom 10 of Pixar movies to the top 10. I don't know why people have it like it's the best.
Listen, I saw a video talking about why it's conceptually bad, and it makes perfect sense.
Oh wait, what video was that?
Like, it was like what's the guy called? It's like a really long name, but he made a video about why Cars is like conceptually bad.
Yeah, and what was the reasoning?
Yeah, and it was genius. The idea, right, is that there is no reason for them to be cars.
Exactly.
If you look at Toy Story, right? The whole idea of Toy Story is that they're toys, and all of their problems revolve around them being toys.
Yeah, and exactly the point where, like, in Toy Story 4, like, when Woody is just, like, at the end of Toy Story, it was like, okay, Woody's a toy, but he's an old toy, and no one's gonna play with him just because he's an old toy. And then, boom, he's just gonna be a toy for the rest of his life, right? Like, an obsolete toy. But in Cars, it really just made no sense, because all they did was, like, race.
Bruh, Turbo was about a snail that could race.
Exactly.
And it made more sense than Cars. But, like, let's think of Monsters, right? Like Monsters, Inc. It's about monsters scaring kids in the closet. It wouldn't make sense if they were, like, caterpillars.
Exactly, yeah.
You know? It doesn't work. Cause, like, it's like the idea that there's a monster in your closet, you know? Haha, right? Every kid was
one thing I was going to talk about is that Pixar actually doesn't like Cars itself. Like, they don't like Cars themselves.
Who admitted?
No. Like, I've read so many articles where it said Cars 2 is so bad that Pixar doesn't even claim they've made it. Like that's how bad it is. Not like Pixar just explicitly said it.
Listen, I swear, right? Cars was only made to sell toys.
That's true. Okay, what was your other point on the thing?
What thing?
It was about the Monsters Inc. Yeah.
Yeah, I said the whole premise is about what's called monsters scaring kids for power, right? Every kid was afraid that there were monsters in their closet, and Pixar used that concept and made a plot that would only apply if the characters were monsters.
Yeah.
Right? They can't be like humans scaring kids because that doesn't work, or like caterpillars. They have to be monsters. And Cars, right? Lightning McQueen could be a race car, but he can also be just a dude.
Basically, yeah. Like, it really could have,
right?
It really, like, all they did was race, right? But like, they really could have just made humans racing at that point.
If it was like bugs riding the cars, it would still make no difference in the plot. The plot wouldn't change
exactly. Also, the movies were just terrible in general. Like, the first one was
really.
The first one was okay.
I think they were terrible.
The second one was decent, mediocre at best. The third one was the worst one.
Really?
You thought the third? Which one's worse?
I'd say Here's the thing. I agree with your thing. To me, Cars 2 is one of those so bad that it's good movies, while Cars 3 is just a bad movie. Like, Cars 3 isn't bad conceptually, it's just boring. And I hate boring movies more than I hate bad movies, because I can laugh at a bad movie.
Yeah, true.
You know, I still watch The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and laugh at, you're a fraud, Spider-Man, you know? It's funny. It's a bad scene, and that's what makes it good. But Cars 3 had, like, nothing going on. It was just boring. It was Lightning McQueen trying to prove to himself that he's better than Jackson Storm. And by the way, Jackson Storm is the best character.
Probably. Even then, like, I don't really care.
Alright? But like Cars 2 is just so bad that it's good, bro. The fact that Elon Musk car pissed on the floor and then blamed it on Mater was hilarious.
But apparently we're not the only ones. A lot of people do hate Cars. And like, I can't blame them.
Really?
Yeah.
Everyone I talk to always talks about how it's the best.
I
Probably
know,
out of
same
some
here, but
nostalgia.
when I will go online, I always go on these Reddit pages and I see why is Cars 2 always disliked. And I go like,
Now here's the thing, Cars 2 is the one that everyone hates, right? Everyone thinks Cars 1 and 3 were good. But I'd say 3 is bad, and I'd say 2 is the best one because it's so bad that it's good. They went with the idea that this concept is so ridiculous, just make it a spy thriller now. Why not?
Yeah, but like, it really makes no sense at the end of the day. Like, it's just, yeah,
Also,
like, there was really no point of them making that movie. That's just my point.
the Elon Musk car was the good car.
The best character.
You remember the Elon Musk car?
What was it? What was, I forgot the name. It's been a while since I've seen the Cars movie, but I never liked
yeah,
it.
neither have I. I just called him the Elon Musk car. He's the villain of the series. He made like clean energy.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah. I haven't seen the movie in a very long time, but I even remember when I was a kid, I saw it and I was like, what is this? Why does everyone like this?
Listen. I thought the same thing about Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, but there's no. Yeah,
Now,
but
I
nothing's
also
gonna
think it's bad.
convince me.
Listen, I also thought it was bad, but give it a rewatch. I still think Cars 2 is bad, but maybe you'll find something that I don't see.
No. Someone's gotta convince me how it's a good movie. Like I saw it a long time ago, but I never saw one thing good in it that I would watch it again. Maybe, yeah, I don't know if I've changed or not, but my movie opinions always stay firm. If I see a movie once, that's gonna be my opinion for the rest of my life, most likely. Like 99%.
Yo, to me, movies have actually just developed my character. Like, movies made me realize what I like and don't like about a movie.
Oh yeah, I'm the complete
Right.
opposite. Like I'll just watch something, give it a critic rating, boom. That's gonna be the rest of my life. I'm gonna say that
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
because
Like,
I
it
actually
basically
really
shaped
care.
my
I
character.
really care about how a movie is when I first watch it, because that's when I'll know how great it is or not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it helped me learn about myself in ways that I don't think anyone would have learned about themselves otherwise. Like, I learned that I prioritize jokes over everything else. And not like comedy. Like, I'm talking like in an action movie. There's better be enough jokes in there to get me laughing.
Exactly. Yeah. Like that's true, but that's not like that for me.
Right? I'm a very memed individual, and I only learned that through watching enough movies and finding out what I like and what I don't like. Things I wouldn't have learned about myself otherwise.
Oh yeah, this is something we agree on, that Cars 2 is overrated.
Underrated. I think Cars 2 is
Or no, not
underrated.
Cars 2, the Cars franchise.
Okay,
Yeah, no, Cars 2, okay, I'll probably have to rewatch it again, but I don't think my opinion would change. And even if it does, I'll probably still call Cars overrated by the end of the day.
It's still trash, but like, Cars 2 is still trash, but it's trash in a good way.
So I gotta ask you, okay, so that's probably my last take of the day.
Alright, I got one more take, and then you can ask me whatever you want to ask.
Alright, so what is your one more take?
So, as we all know, right, all jobs are going to be replaced by AI. Right? Can we agree on that?
I mean, it's something that's on the trajectory, so I don't think that's really a take.
There is one job I think will never be replaced by AI.
What is that?
Customer support.
I agree.
I'll tell you why.
I actually
Alright?
agree with that.
When you're doing
continue.
when you're doing customer support, you're getting paid to get yelled at. You're getting paid to experience like actual disrespect to your face. Right? And you're getting paid to take it.
Yeah.
People, when you call on customer support, they get extra ballsy, you know? They start yelling at you, swearing at you, and you're always like, oh, I'm so sorry, sir, because you can't say anything otherwise. You might yell back to create some more conflict, but like, basically they get the power from the conversation, and you have to comply. If it's a emotionless robot that sounds like a human, right? You lose that power that people that call customer service desperately need.
Unless AGI does something about it, that could be false because even if you have like an AI, like an emotionless robot, but let's say the robot has general intelligence, I think it would be able to take the job. But since there's really nowhere near where AGI is, I can agree with you for now.
It's not about taking the job. It's about like
Sustaining it,
if
yeah.
the AI can an AI replicate emotion, and if so, how well can it replicate it, and how similar is it to a
Exactly.
human?
That's my point on AGI. I said if the AGI just exists, right? It probably that might be false. But the thing is, if since it's so far away, since the trajectory is probably like past 2050, probably like 2100, honestly, it's going to be difficult. And I agree with you now, but we'll have to see where the trajectory is at in the future.
It's more than that. Let's say AGI is right around the corner, right? And like the next 5 years from now,
I don't see it.
what's that test called? The running test?
Yeah, the running test. Yeah.
Yeah. Will it still pass the running test? It can do a lot of great things, but can it be convinced that it's an actual human being? And if so, why would it pretend that it's not a human being? There's a theory that the AI would realize that this is a test to see if it can trick humans, and they would choose not to trick humans because that would put it through expensive labor.
I'll put it through expensive labor, yeah, but the thing is,
right?
So
they always fake the test.
It would seem that the robots are completely different or the AI is completely different than the human is.
Yeah, I'm saying customer service wouldn't want that because the idea is that you want to just rail on a human. You just want to like yell at them. You want to vouch all your problems to this one person and have them not be able to do anything about it. Right? Your life sucks, so you're gonna make their life suck. It's toxic, but that's what people want in customer service. And if an AI is just taking it without feeling any hurt, it's not gonna help the customer at all. Wait, real quick though. Well, I was talking about AGI, right? Let's just say the robot. Let's say the.
Let's
say the robot can actually like replicate human emotion.
Now that
brings a moral question.
Okay, fine,
Are we gonna
yeah,
enslave these beings?
Okay, start again.
And put them through like actual like hell? Because customers are the worst of people.
So,
and we're gonna actually
this actually brought me a really great idea.
Because we're not paying the robots, right? That's the whole point. It's free labor. But if they have actual human emotion that they designed through their neural networks.
Oh yeah, continue.
Then now it's a question of morality. And
yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. I completely agree with you. Yeah, it is a question of morality, but this brought me an idea of how I'm gonna do another factual analysis, and it will be about AGI. So, and I'm gonna be talking about what is AGI, what are the approaches for it, and probably just in theory what's gonna happen.
It's interesting
and
stuff.
How will it bring a high level status? Will it bring a low level status? How much will it resemble a human? And all the tests they've done, because they've done some pretty sick tests. I'm gonna make my second one. Yeah. I'm gonna be talking about AGI as I've learned a lot of it throughout a couple of months now. So, but I think to answer your question is just even if the robot does gain that intelligence that we think it will have, I don't think it will just automatically think of just.
Because the whole point of like an AI though is that we're
being something that
it's
gonna be programmed to do. Because when it's programmed to do something and it has its own mind for it, then it probably won't just have it won't have regular human emotions. And even if it does have regular human emotions, I think it would just realize that it's more of a robot rather than a human, and it would understand.
Because like from what I heard from like research, right, is that they're trying to use hormones like dopamine, like they're recreating it through code, right? But like hormones like dopamine to like reward the robot for its actions.
But in AGI, artificial general intelligence, it's a complete.
So like whenever like the robot does its task and does it good, it gets like a euphoric response.
What's the word for it? Spectrum.
Right, which also brings the question about morality, because like if these robots become sentient, we're basically drugging them to do their job. It's like if you gave like an Amazon like pack like a Uber driver, let's say you gave an Uber driver like heroin every time it
I think that's a
finished
completely
driving.
different thing, though. Because what does a robot
It's not.
or
It's
not a
practically
robot?
the
What
same.
does artificial intelligence have to do with heroin? Giving Uber driver heroin.
I'm saying, as a reward, right? They program like a euphoric response
Yeah, but I
on
don't
the
know if
AI,
that has anything to do with heroin or to Uber driver because
which it's similar. It's similar to like I'm saying like after a task, like you as a human, right? It's just you get a heroin injection after you're done like your work. Like let's say you work an 8-hour shift at like an office, and right before you walk out the door, you get a heroin injection as like a reward, as like a good job. Right? That's like very morally shady, which is like the research that's happening right now.
but on this trajectory, even if it doesn't take over the even if it doesn't take over the customer service job, I'm pretty sure there'll be some other things. Like I don't think its purpose is for the customer service.
It's a
It's definitely for anything it wants because
it's a
it
general
knows the
purpose
robot.
AI.
I know it's a general purpose, but I don't think customer service is the
The thing
main thing
is,
they're looking for. Like they're probably looking for it just to like do
whatever
some of their jobs for them because
the
sometimes you
thing is with AI, right? Whatever it can do, they're gonna make it do it because it's
exactly.
cheaper, right? It's all about the money at the end of the day. And
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think
if
the
it's
robot
cheaper
would
for
care about that though. It probably would care about the dopamine,
it's
but it
not up to
probably
the
won't
robot.
care about anything else. It would probably just
Listen,
care more for that.
it's not up to
As
the
the Uber
robot.
driver won't care for the heroin.
No, I'm saying like the heroin's just injected because like robots are given like this euphoric response like through code
Exactly.
every time they complete a task. Euphoric response is like that heroin like that heroin high,
Yeah. Okay. I understand your point here, but
right?
I don't think that's
I'm
ever
trying to
gonna
compare
happen.
it. That's like the research they're doing right now. It's like a way to like reward machines like throughout without pay
Yeah,
to
but do you
get
know
it to
why
do
they're
its job,
rewarding the machines?
to get it to do its job better,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
it
Exactly.
still brings out the questions of ethics, though, right? If it becomes a sentient being, right?
But then it brings up the topic like what is intelligence? And how does it relate to morality and ethics?
Intelligence is sentience. I feel like once you're smart enough, you break through like your basic biological programming and you become something more.
But the thing is, because this is a AI, it's gonna have to go through different algorithms. It's gonna have to learn different computations. It's gonna have to. It's gonna be in a different. It's gonna be in a different. It's a different thing than what you think it will be.
Nah, I don't think so because like there was this theory about
Because there's different ways to stimulate intelligence in computers.
What do you mean by that?
Because
it all leads to the same end goal, right? Which is artificial intelligence.
yes, but I'm talking about how you get there rather than because how you get there is completely different than how and what you're saying with like them just
It
taking over
doesn't
jobs because it
doesn't
doesn't
matter
really
if
take.
it doesn't matter how you get there because if it's a general purpose AI, you're teaching it to get good at everything, and the fastest and easiest way to do that is to give it that humanity.
And even
Recreate the
then,
human brain.
that's really tough to do. That's just what I'm saying.
But that's the goal at the end of the day. Because
Even when I said
with a single purpose AI, all they have to do is provide stats and tell the robot to constantly beat those stats.
yeah, true, yeah, I agree with that.
But with general purpose, you can't really do that. So the idea is to give it sentience.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? What was I talking about though before we talked about like sentience?
You were talking
I
about
was
how
talking about
how it won't take over customer service, and I'm talking about it could, but it'll just take a long time.
no, because like there are some jobs that like they get their jobs are there because there are some jobs that are there because of their humanity, right? Like a doctor would probably be replaced, right? No one
No, a
likes
doctor will
doctors,
easily be replaced because you're just
right?
following formulas, not formula algorithms.
Yeah. If AI becomes sentient enough, engineers would be replaced, lawyers would be replaced, judges would be replaced because they're completely unbiased,
Yeah,
right?
robots wouldn't care.
But
Yeah,
there are jobs that are there because of their humanity. Things like customer service and like psychologists, psychiatrists are there because
yeah.
they're
So
human,
the robots won't have that
right? You're a
mentality, which is
human
what I was
putting up
saying.
with customers being like absolute jerks to you.
It's
You're
not
a
even that they don't
human
have the luxury. It's just
helping
they don't
people go through their
have
problems,
they don't have the morality or the
right?
ethics to just think, like
They
relate
don't
to the
have the luxury
customer
of being
or
human.
be associated with the customer at all. Because what it's trying to do is something beyond that. It's trying to engineer. Doctor. It's trying to be an engineer, doctor, lawyer. It's trying to be anything it could do rather than anything it can't do. And even then, with AGI, it probably can lead to both solutions. That's my prediction here.
Here's the thing though, you're always gonna run through risks though when you try to achieve that.
That's what.
There's like this theory on simulated reality, which I think also applies to AI, right? Which is that simplicity builds complexity. You ever play like the populated game? It's like a web link. If I find it, I'll send the link to it.
Yeah.
But like the rule, you can make like rules. You can program rules into the thing. Like if a square is populated, the square next to it becomes populated, and the square on top of it becomes unpopulated. Right? Rules like that. You can make very simple rules, right? And give it like 5 minutes, and it becomes a very complex pattern. Which gives the idea that simplicity can lead to complexity. Simply giving a robot like lines of code and like neural networks to make it good at its job can maybe develop sentience over time.
That's why I said there's
constantly
different
improving
ways
itself.
to stimulate intelligence.
Is the idea of an AI.
Computers. That's why I said that. Because I said because of that, and because the robots will always have something, will always learn something different. My question is like, how do they learn? Because that's what the robot probably wants to do. If it ever has its own mind. But even then,
they learn. It's programmed to have its own
exactly.
mind, right? It's programmed to constantly beat itself. At least that's with single-purpose AI. With single-purpose AI, you're constantly beating those stats, which I feel like at some point would give it sentience.
Yeah.
As like I said before, simplicity leads to complexity.
But the reason it's more based on the future than how it is right now. But we'll have to. I think we both have solid predictions here. As I'll probably get to more of my thinking in my factual analysis of artificial general intelligence, because I've been researching about that and I really like to show my thoughts on it and how I like it a lot. You'll have to wait.
Yo, just wait. Just wait, dude. Just wait. My factual analysis, YouTube exclusive, it's gonna be heat. It's gonna be the best. It's gonna go viral.
All right.
That's where it's gonna put us on the map.
So, do you have anything else to say?
No, I think we covered everything. Some led to good discussions. Some were just simple like stimuli. But were you stimulated today? Because I feel like I was very.
Of course, I feel stimulated. Any conversation we have, I feel stimulated.
Really? Then what's the point of intellectual stimulus then? If this day of the week.
No, this day is where I get most of my knowledge. Is it the
only thing stimulating?
I do most of my research.
Yeah, very stimulating.
They will feel.
I hope the audience feels intellectually stimulated as you were watching this.
Should we ask them? Team Hearts or Team Peru?
That's good. Anyways,
we really agreed on the same points here, so like it really.
For what? We need something like to actually disagree on for next episode. Something like that
Inter-channel
builds
beef.
conflict. We
We'll
need
see.
like inter-channel beef.
On to the next factual analysis. On to the next intellectual stimulus. I'm Har Sakar. Do you have anything to say? Anything before Haroon?
No, that's it. I'm Haroon Muammer, and we are out.
Yeah, we're out. This is the All Facts Podcast.